coming to Diarmid's book launch. So this is his latest book, Civil Guard. It's a bit of a departure from the last book series, but we've heard from live as well, this is the best one yet. So I'll hand it to
Oh, damn it! Yes.
Right, you think I need a microphone?
What?
Alan knows how I can First of all, as before, it's a huge surprise and a pleasure to be standing here introducing my books. It's something I never expected, and it's just wonderful to see you all here. Thank you very much for coming, it's absolutely great. Before we go any further, and whether you're a royalist or whether you're a Republican or whether you're a nationalist or whether you're a unionist, I think we should all just pay a wee nod to Her Majesty, a mother, a grandmother, a great-grandmother, an amazing woman, whatever your politics, and I just would like to acknowledge that before we go any further, and I'm sure you all know that. So, just a few more thank yous before we get any further. First of all, Leslie, for having faith in me. Leslie, part of Sparsell Books, an author myself, first took me on in my first novel came out, Perennial Hero, in 2019. I was drowned for your sins, DCI Grant Vicar, followed up in 2020 by the next one, Brace for Death, the next in the DCI Vicar crime series. Now at that time Leslie said to me it might be worthwhile thinking of a change in direction. Crime is becoming quite a crowded genre, and that was all the impetus we needed. So we set off to do this book, Civil Guard, which we're here tonight. And of course, I couldn't do that without the support of my wonderful family, who are represented by my wife Jo and my younger daughter Lindsay, who's hightailed it down from Glen Eagles just to be here. Older daughter Kirsty is currently travelling in Europe with a pal, lucky so-and-so. She's sending us pictures, beautiful bookshop in Rome, etc. Lovely. And again, thanks to all my friends for all your support, for buying my books, for being here. You're absolutely great. And those of you who know me will always expect a little bit of humour. And I was talking to a friend and he said, coming home today, my wife was lying on the bed, stark naked, face down, crying her eyes out. And I said, what the hell's wrong with you? And she said, we're going to Diarmid's book launch and I've nothing to wear. He goes, rubbish. And he goes to the wardrobe. Look, we've got a red dress, we've got a green dress, a pink dress, hello Harry, and we've got... Right, enough of the dad jokes. So, I've discussed my previous books and we've had a change of direction. Now, the police procedural, as you know, is a very common genre. There's loads of people doing it. You've got your Grievances, you've got all these different folk, Denzel Merrick, Alex Gray, Val McDermott. The writing about police discovering a crime, usually the more brutal the better, and how they solve that crime. So I thought we'll come to this from a slightly different perspective. Civil Guard features a lawyer called Red Park, a very ordinary divorced attorney, lives in Greenock, works in Glasgow with what seems to be a fairly ordered life. As in many of these situations, you scrape away the surface and perhaps there are very many layers underneath that you don't know. There have been a series of rather brutal gangland killings, and Ruth starts to become obsessed with these, primarily for the reason that he's a huge upholder of the law, of due process, and he hates that being usurped by anybody for their own purposes. And if he's drawn into this, he finds himself arrested. And his QC, Simon Fox, a very charismatic individual, gets him out, but he's still the person of suspicion. So the premise of the book is about the law, and I'm going to do the first little reading, because I know Alan's got to go away to watch the Clan, and he's anxious for me.
Clan get beat?
Clan defeat.
Yeah.
Well, so this book and the next one in the series, I start them in the past. I start them with Professor Donald Laughlin, the Professor of Law at Glasgow University, giving either a talk or maybe a discussion, and this is really setting the scene of what this book is all about. So I am reading this in the perspective of this archetypal professor with a tweed suit with an old hunter watch, very, very whiskered and very... I'll try and do the accent. Justice and the law, ladies and gentlemen. Justice and the law. A curious couple. You would be forgiven for expecting monogamy, a mutually exclusive relationship. You might even suppose that essentially they are one and the same thing. The law, the scales of justice. However, let me quote the good Mr. Bumble and Oliver Twist. But if the law supposes that, the law is a ass. Idiot. Well, that's pretty plain, eh? I'm sure you've all heard that expression before. The law is a us. Then, on a more light-hearted note, don't worry, I won't sing. There's our friend W.S. Gilbert, librettist for Mr. Sullivan's Isle Anthem. The law is the true embodiment of everything that is excellent. It has no kind of fault or flaw. I shall refrain from quoting the last line. I am not the law. But no fault or flaw. Do we really believe that the law is excellent? That law is justice and vice versa? Let me conclude by quoting Johnson, a somewhat more reliable commentator. A lawyer has no business with the justice or injustice of the cause which he undertakes. Do we ask a prospective client if he's guilty or innocent? Or do we simply examine and consider the case on its legal merit alone? These are the questions that you will have to face in your career. In particular, should you choose to go down the route of criminal law. Innocent or guilty? Does it really matter? Or is it simply a question of what we refer to as due process? The legal requirement that the state must at all times respect all legal rights owed to a person. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. I rest my case. But before I leave you to retire and draw your own conclusions, I will sum up in 8 words rather than my customary 8,000. Justice and law, 2 entirely different features.
Keep going. Read another page.